Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jay here with Visions of Reality, and welcome to my little mini series called 12 Days of Visions of Reality, which is going to play off of 12 Days of Christmas. I'm going to be starting this a little bit in advance to the release date because I want to discuss the album as a whole and the history of the album and the making of it and the songs on it, what they mean to me holistically. And then every single day after that, the 11 songs that are on the album I will discuss individually. The inspiration behind it, the lyrics, the meaning, interpretations, whatever you want to call it, and of course the history and the making of the song as well. So this is the first video. This is going to be released, it is, by the time you're watching this, it'll be December 14, the day before, and then the next 11 days up to Christmas itself, I will release each song as well. So this one is going to be about the whole entire album, Visions of Reality. And Visions of Reality is actually a name I came up with for a song that I wrote back in 2005. And I'm going to post a link in the description here at the bottom of the original demo that I wrote for this song back in 2005. And you'll hear it's just guitar and me singing, and it's horrible, guys. It's absolutely terrible as far as timing goes. My vocals are all right. The guitar, but the timing is garbage, I'll be honest with you with that. But it was just a demo, just an idea that I had. This is before I learned the significance and necessity for using a metronome while playing, something I didn't do for probably about 20 years of guitar playing, maybe more than that, because it's been since 1998 that I've been playing guitar. So I only started using a metronome last year, so it's really it's been about almost 25 years because I started using a metronome last year. I know, pathetic, right? So definitely made a huge difference, leaps and bounds. Even stuff I was sending to Alex, because there was times where we were discussing new songs for the Adolis album, the second EP that we're working on, and I would send him some ideas. And yeah, as I look back, I cringe because the timing was terrible. And then once I started using a metronome and recording to the metronome and adjusting as well after the fact, with stretch markers and stuff like that, using Reaper, getting it lined up to the grid, my music just started to sound so much better. When I realized I can do that, and that I should be doing that, and that's going to create a much better quality sound to make it tight, that's when that trigger went off. And that's really kind of the start of this video, is what started the whole process of me actually saying, you know what, I'm going to record these songs. I'm going to get these songs on an album. Something I've wanted to do for over 20 years. So this, some of the riffs you're going to hear on this album, I wrote in the mid to early 2000s, specifically the Killer Awakes. That's probably one of the earliest riffs that I've ever written. And I still have the demo of that on my computer, actually. I think it was 2003. So it's over 20 years in the making, really. But I say 20 because this, the main song that inspired this is the song Visions of Reality. So this is one of those albums where the band name is Visions of Reality. The album title is Visions of Reality, and I have a song called Visions of Reality. And I don't know, I kind of think it's an interesting thing. Some bands will do that sometimes. Like for example, the band Deliverance, one of my favorite Christian metal bands growing up. They have same exact thing, Deliverance, their self-titled 1989 album, with a song called Deliverance on it as well. So interesting little thing there that I thought would be cool. But yeah, otherwise, we got Master of the Sky, There Is No Death, The Killer Awakes featuring Alex Scruggs. He's going to do an amazing solo on that. You'll hear that tomorrow. Behold the End. That was another one that I wrote in the mid-2000s as well. Most of it. In fact, some of the riffs I stole out of that were from a band that I wrote the riff for, of course, but a band that me and Mike Majorowski, who were in the band Preacher 617, and my first band Cleansed by Fire, then soon after that, we called ourselves Megiddo when we broke up and tried to form again. But I was writing a riff for that. That's also in that song. Conscious Oblivion is probably the most recent song that I've written. Actually, I wrote that last year, and I think I even sent it off to Adolis as one of the songs that we were contemplating using. My issue is, and I'll take ownership of this, is any song I sent to Alex, sometimes he would work on them, and he would send it back to me, and of course it would sound amazing, right? He would take whatever I wrote, and anything he does is going to sound way better than what you hear tomorrow when this thing is released. I will admit that thoroughly, although I am very proud of what I came up with. But he would send me back stuff like, I think he tried to do something Master of the Sky, Conscious Oblivion, I believe, Behold the End. I think those three songs, I have demos of Alex trying to come up with something for it. But every single time, I was like, you know what? This is not really what I imagined the song to sound like. My style is more like, I guess you would say, more attack on the guitar, more thrashy sounding. His is more melodic, more mixed, and more atmospheric sounding, if that makes any sense. Which is, I'm not saying that to say it's negative. It's just not what I was looking for. And I kind of felt bad saying, you know what, I appreciated what he was trying to do, like super appreciated it, but it was not going to work for what I was hoping the song would be. And I have a problem where if I write something, I don't want it to be changed. So if you're going to send something to Alex, you better be ready for it to be changed. You better be ready for it to be made better in most cases. But if it's not what you want, you better say it right up front so he doesn't waste his time. So a lot of the songs on the album were candidates for a short, brief period for Eudolus, but I decided that, I wanted to stick to the original sound and the original structure of the song that I had written. And I vowed the next time I send something to him, I better be willing for him to, take free liberty and free reign with whatever he decides to do with it. And you never know, maybe in the future there'll be some riffs that I've written on an Eudolus record. But right now, everything that's on there is primarily by Alex, and a lot of it's actually written by Connor, and there's a couple riffs that you'll hear that are in there from Alex Scruggs. So yeah, just some little kind of sidetrack there. But anyways, continuing on here, On the Edge of Greatness is one I wrote maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, somewhere around there. So I have a demo of that. Brother, At Your Hand I Die. That's another song that, actually, that's the one, I'm sorry. Correction. Brother, At Your Hand I Die. That riff is the one that I wrote back in 2003. Though Killer Awakes is probably 2007. So that riff, the very first couple riffs you hear in Brother, At Your Hand I Die are well over 20 years old. That was back when I was in my thrash days, listening to primarily thrash, kind of before I got into black and death metal. That was kind of my big thing, and I still appreciate a lot of thrash, especially if it's melodic. And this is a very melodic thrash song. It's probably the only song on the entire record that has no singing, just screaming the whole way through, just thrash vocals the whole way through. Because everything else has some kind of singing or some other style on it. But then Hate Speech is another song, and I'm gonna have a whole history about that one. It was originally written as a Christian song. And then when I deconstructed from my faith and went to a more spiritual direction a few years ago, that whole thing changed. But that is the only song on the record that has kind of a punk, maybe parts of Policy Man do, but kind of have a punk feel to it. Restitution, I'll have more about that one later, but that's a song that has a very kind of deep meaning for me. But I'll discuss that more. That's an instrumental. Visions of Reality, again, that's the song that started it all as far as the first full song I ever wrote with, lyrics and guitar and drums and everything. I have the demo from 2007. So I have a 2005 demo and a 2007 demo. The 2007, I think, is probably one of the first ones I actually did all the recording. And I remember using a little drum machine pad to do the drums, and it's so terrible. But yeah, I don't even remember what DAW I was using back in 2007. But yeah, I used the DAW to record it. It's probably what is it called? I always forget the name of it. Audacity? Yeah, it's probably Audacity that I used back in 2007. Policy Man, that one is about a former boss. I'll have more about that one, but that's a fun. I put that as the 11th track because this is really kind of 9 songs with an instrumental, and then 11 is like a bonus track. I didn't put bonus track on there because I didn't want to put that in the title, but 11 is a bonus track. It's a kind of a comedic track. But yeah, everything here, I did everything. I did all the recording, all the songwriting with the exception of the guitar solo by Alex Scruggs. Everything is completely mine here, using Reaper, and you'll notice as you listen to the album that every song sounds different. I mean, probably the only songs that sound even remotely close to similar would be probably Behold the End and Conscious Oblivion. And I try to keep the songs that sounded similar in style close together as much as I could, because it starts off with Master of the Sky, which is pure. That was probably the only song. Maybe there's only 2 or 3 songs, if that are just straight singing the whole way through. I mean, Master of the Sky just starts off totally power metal, maybe thrashy, progressive power metal. Then There Is No Death comes in, and that's, still singing with some harsh vocals in it. And then it goes to Killer Awakes, and that's just straight through, aggressive thrash while I'm still singing on it. It's different, you hadn't heard that style of singing yet. Then Behold the End comes, and it's kind of back to a little bit of almost kind of power metal-esque vocals, but then I introduce some black metal vocals as well as some harsher like death metal vocals as well. Conscious Oblivion, same kind of thing. More of a death metal vocal than a black metal vocal, I would say, on that one. On the Edge of Greatness kind of brings back some of the power metal vocals, with some of the death metal stuff and black metal stuff. So kind of towards the middle of the album, I tried to put the more harsher, darker sounding stuff. Then it switches, back from On the Edge of Greatness to Brother at Your Hand I Die, and I try to put it that way because there's a little bit of thrashy parts in On the Edge of Greatness, so it kind of made sense to put it there. But that's a straight ahead, there's no singing at all in that one. And then right to Hate Speech, which I almost feel like I should have put Killer Awakes in front of that because it's more thrashy. But anyways, Hate Speech, that was pure, straight ahead punk, thrash, metal, if you want to call it that. And then it goes to the instrumental. Then Visions of Reality kind of brings back the power metal-y type of feel from the beginning of the album, with a couple of spots where I do some harsh vocals, but it's really more of a power metal song. And then Policy Man is completely almost like a rock song. It's still heavy, it's still thrashy in some parts, but it's straight ahead rock slash hard rock, metal, whatever you want to call it, to end off the record. So I just like the fact that this album is just inconsistently consistent. In other words, it's always metal all the way through, and you'll know it's metal. You'll be, yeah, this is a metal song, but every single song sounds completely different. There's nothing that repeats in here except maybe a small part of Policy Man sounds kind of like a part in Hate Speech, but other than that, it is straight ahead, just completely, different every single song. And that's what I like. I don't like bands that when you hear a record, every song kind of blends in and sounds the same. You'll never hear that with me. Every single song is going to have a hook. Every single song is going to have something to it that's going to make you go, that was cool. And that's my goal, right? I want something that's going to stick in your head. I want you humming or whistling this stuff when you're asleep or whatever. I want this to be something that you come back to, because that's what I like in music. I want something that's interesting and unique and different. And I don't want it to be boring. I don't want it to get old after a while. I'll even listen to my songs sometimes just for fun. Not because I'm, a conceited type of person, because I'm like, yeah, this is a good song, and it'll probably be in my playlist just because the music itself. I don't necessarily claim, I know I wrote these songs, but I kind of feel like almost like it came to me. I feel blessed that God has given me this talent of writing music. And speaking of God, this is not a Christian metal album by any stretch of the imagination. You will hear some theistic or religious type lyrics in here, but it's not the intent of trying to win people over for Christ or something like that. No, this is just my own personal spiritual journey. It's going to make its way into the lyrics. Some of the songs were written when I was Christian. I had to revamp them to kind of fit more my current spiritual ideals and current spiritual beliefs. And those could change and evolve over the years. But I do like the fact that I have some hopeful messages in it. Every single song that starts off kind of on a negative kind of track will kind of end off as being positive, with the exception of Brother at Your Hand I Die, just because it's just I mean, there is kind of like a sense in that song of taking ownership of your actions, but it's still kind of like a negative vibe the whole way through lyrically, but not really. You'll have to hear it, but overall, I'm very excited for this release. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. And one last quick thing is, I'm already thinking about the next album. I'm already thinking about what songs I want to put on the next album, and I already have a few. And I have enough songs to probably write another album, but it might take another year or so for me to do it. But anyways, that's kind of the whole, backstory of Visions of Reality. It's a labor of love, and I'm hoping that everyone enjoys it as much as it was for me to make it. Thanks, God bless.